The rejection came quietly, almost politely, which somehow made it hurt more. On the evening she turned 80, dressed in her best navy blue dress with pearls she had saved for special days, the hostess glanced at the reservation list and shook her head. No table available. No exception. No room for one elderly woman celebrating a milestone alone. The restaurant buzzed with laughter and clinking glasses, but around her the world seemed to pause, leaving her standing there with a small gift bag in her hand and a lifetime of memories pressing against her chest. 80 years of living, loving, losing, and tonight it felt like none of it mattered. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of human connection, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone you love, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that one small moment can change everything. She had told herself not to expect much from this birthday. Her children lived far away, busy with their own lives, and most of her friends were either gone or no longer able to go out. Still, she had wanted to do something simple and dignified. One nice meal, one evening where she could feel seen. As she stepped aside to let other guests pass, she felt the familiar ache of being invisible, something she had grown used to after her husband passed and the phone calls slowly faded. She considered leaving quietly, maybe buying a slice of cake from a bakery and eating it alone at home, candles unlit so no one would see her cry. The dining room was warm and golden, filled with families and couples leaning close over shared plates. At one table sat a single father with his young daughter, both slightly out of place among the polished crowd. He looked tired in the way only someone juggling work, parenting, and life alone could look. His daughter, small and bright-eyed, noticed everything. She noticed the woman standing there too long near the entrance. She noticed the way her shoulders drooped and how she held her purse as if it were the only thing keeping her steady. Children have a way of seeing what adults train themselves to ignore. The father followed his daughter's gaze and saw the woman as well. He didn't know her story, but he recognized the expression. It was the same look his own mother had worn near the end, when loneliness crept in quietly, pretending to be independence. He felt a tug in his chest, the kind that doesn't come from logic, but from memory and empathy. He looked at the empty chair at their table, originally meant for his late wife, a chair that often went unused. In that moment, something inside him shifted. The woman began to turn toward the door, pride fighting with disappointment, when she felt a gentle interruption, not loud, not dramatic, just a simple invitation that cut through the noise of the room like light through a cloud. She hesitated, unsure, her first instinct being to refuse. 80 years had taught her not to inconvenience anyone, not to ask for space she wasn't offered. But something in the father's expression and the hopeful curiosity on the little girl's face made her pause. For the first time that evening, someone had seen her not as a problem, but as a person. She sat down slowly, as if afraid the moment might vanish if she moved too quickly. The chair felt solid beneath her, real in a way the evening had not felt until then. Around them, conversations continued, unaware that something quietly extraordinary was happening at one small table. Plates were adjusted, extra cutlery brought over without fuss. The woman's hands trembled slightly as she smoothed her napkin, overwhelmed not by grandeur, but by inclusion. As the meal unfolded, something softened in her. She watched the little girl talk animatedly, her joy unfiltered, her laughter light and contagious. It reminded the woman of raising her own children, of noisy kitchens and spilled milk and days that felt endless at the time but now seemed heartbreakingly brief. The father listened attentively, patience etched into his posture, love evident in every small gesture. It struck her how courage came in many forms and how this man carried his quietly. The evening became something she hadn't dared to hope for. Not just a dinner, but a reminder that life still had room for warmth. The food tasted better than she expected, not because it was prepared differently, but because she was no longer eating alone. Time slowed. The sharp edge of rejection dulled into something almost grateful, because without it, this moment would never have happened. Other diners began to notice. Not in a gawking way, but in the subtle way people do when they sense something meaningful unfolding. A smile here, a nod there. The restaurant seemed to breathe differently, as if kindness itself had taken a seat at the table. Near the end of the meal, the woman felt something she hadn't felt in years, the sense that her presence mattered, that her 80 years were not a burden, but a story still worth honoring. She realized that while she couldn't control how the night had begun, she would never forget how it ended. If this story is touching your heart right now, if it's reminding you of someone you love or a moment you wish you'd handled differently, please take a second to like this video, share it, and let us know in the comments. Your engagement helps these stories reach others who might need them. Before the ending, we have one special request for you. Comment below with the words, "Kindness still matters." If you believe moments like this can change the world, one table at a time. When she finally stood to leave, her steps were steadier. The loneliness that had followed her in felt lighter, not gone, but no longer unbearable. She walked out into the night carrying more than a gift bag. She carried proof that even at 80, even on a day that began with rejection, life could still surprise her. And somewhere inside that restaurant, a single father and a little girl went back to their meal, unaware that by making room for one stranger, they had given her a birthday she would remember for the rest of her life, and reminded everyone watching that kindness doesn't need permission.